I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not hear me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Start it from scratch. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not. Because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through. I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not. Because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go. The only thing that I know, you were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. What do you think that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity. 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 I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not hear me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Start it from scratch. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to race number 26, the regular season finale for season 8 of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series. That's right, folks. We have finally reached the pinnacle, the final moment where we are going to compile up the 16 drivers that will battle in this season's playoffs with the championship just on the horizon. 10 drivers will point their way in, 6 drivers will get in through wild card spots, and we'll find out the answer to all the questions we've had ever since the green flag flew back at the season opener at Daytona at the conclusion of 80 circuits around this 2-mile speedway. A lot of drivers have made preparations during the course of this regular season. A lot of drivers, their path is not yet complete. Some drivers come into this race already locked into the playoffs. Other drivers have to rely on a little bit of help, a couple of things to go their way, and a lot of drivers have to find a checkered flag in order to have a shot at a last-minute playoff positioning. Let's talk about the drivers that are locked in. If you've gone to victory lane multiple times, the odds are very high in your favor of, if not advancing in the top 10 in points, at least getting in through a wild card spot. If you're a driver that comes into this race here tonight, 47 points ahead of the cut line, 10th in the standings, you're going to go playoff racing. And if you're a driver that is within that 47 points cut line of 10th in the standings and you're on the underside, you still mathematically have a shot of maybe pointing your way in or potentially winning your way into a playoff position. Drivers that come into this race that we know for absolute certainty that they are going to be battling for the championship include a former champion runner-up in Ryan Brommer. He leads the point standings. We'll be talking in a moment about the battle for the regular season championship. James Qualls, a multi-time winner on the season. He will be locked in, second in the points. Alexander Rowe, we saw him finally get back to victory lane last week at Bristol Dirt. That win solidifies him a spot in this season's playoffs. 3-time winner Carson Gum, fourth in the standings, is going to be locked in on points. Levi McIntyre, who dominated the regular season, has found a bit of a skid here in the closing stages of this regular season. Still looking for that first checkered flag as well, but he's locked in on points. And Summer Henson, we talk about 47 points. Well, Summer is only 47 points ahead of that 10th in the standings cut line, right on the mark to be able to point the way into her first ever playoff appearance in her rookie season. Of course, a former winner this season as well at Homestead. So that's 6 drivers that we know are locked in. They're going playoff racing. We also know that multi-time winners Destin Bolin, 4 victories on the season, and Matt Haas, 3 victories on the season, they're going to go playoff racing. The question will be, will they be doing it as a top 10 points participant, or will they be doing it as a wild card driver? Right now, Destin Bolin is 16th in overall points, so he's in the number 1 wild card spot. Mathematically, he could point his way back into the top 10, as he is only 18 points below said cut line. And for Matt Haas, he's 9th in overall points. 3 points to the good, but if he has a bad performance here tonight, he could fall below that 10th in standings cut line, which then moves the wild card positioning up a position or two, and could make things very interesting for drivers coming into this race that are sitting there with only a 1 in the win column. We have to address the elephant in the room as well. A driver we'll be talking about here tonight a lot, because he will also determine whether that cut line fluctuates or not, is Connor Breton. Breton is a multi-time winner on the season. However, he comes into tonight's regular season finale 31st in points. What does that mean? He's outside the top 30 in the standings, which means his 2 victories right now do not count towards a wild card spot. He'll be gunning for drivers like Anthony McCurry, Cole Deaver, Casey Hoyt to just get that 1 or 2 positions he needs to get up into the top 30. If he does that, he's in a wild card position, and that will shift the cut line down yet another position. Drivers that will be on pins and needles here in this race. Wondering, will Destin get back up in the top 10? Will Matt Haas fall out of the top 10? Will Breton get back into the top 30? Would include drivers coming into this race that are in wild card positions with 1 trip to victory lane. We mentioned Destin Bolin. Right now he's in the number 1 wild card spot. Eric Sadler, Reggie Fogelman. Tremendous job here down the home stretch for the rookie and now 2-time winner in the driver of the 5 out of Haas Racing. They are 11th and 12th in overall points right now. They are sitting in the 2nd and 3rd wild card spots. Now, they also are within striking distance to move into the top 10 in the point standings. So they've got 2 things going for them, 2 different scenarios where they could be into the postseason. Then you start getting down into the murky waters outside of the top 20 in points. 22nd in points, R.J. Bishop. 23rd in standings, Nathan Normand. And 24th in points, Daniel Voiles. All with 1 win apiece. Right now are in the 4th through 6th wild card positions. However, as we mentioned, if Haas drops out, the lowest of those 3 drivers would be the first one eliminated. If Breton moves in, again, the lowest of those 3 drivers gets eliminated. If both scenarios, Haas falls out of the top 10 and Breton moves into the top 30, guess what? 2 of those 3 drivers would then be eliminated. Oh, and by the way, there's about a dozen drivers that if they go to victory lane here tonight, they could snipe a wild card spot. Osborne, Monaco, Moore, Bouchard, Fitzwater, Miles, Matt McIntyre, Jesse Turner, Laura Chung, Caleb Fogler, Anthony McCurry all have mathematical shots if they win tonight that they could potentially win their way into a wild card position. Drivers that I mentioned right there as well in Osborne, Monaco, Moore, Bouchard, Fitzwater, Miles, McIntyre, and yes, even Jesse Turner, 21st in points. Guess what? They could point their way into the top 10 in the standings, as Turner is only 35 points below that cut line of 10th in the standings, and 47 points maximum can be accumulated here in this race. It's possible. The math is there. There are so many moving parts and pieces. We saw it yesterday in the lights race. We kind of had to speculate who we thought was in, who we thought was out. Surprisingly, I got it correct. That's very rare for me in a regular season when I eyeball it and try and predict who's in and who's out. I believe I was a perfect 10 for 10. I guarantee you I will not be 16 for 16 in this one. I've already given you the drivers locked in, so I know that those drivers are safe in my predictions, but there's going to be all those drivers just down around that 10th and standings cut line, and for that final couple of wildcard spots that I'm probably going to get wrong, we got to wait until the calculations are complete before we officially know who our playoff contenders are going to be. But here at Auto Club, a racetrack where track position is not always that important. We'll see if it's going to be the case here tonight, as Michael Norman and Matt McIntyre, a couple of teammates out of Michael Norman Motorsports, will compile our front row. For Michael Norman, he's in a crucial spot here tonight. He is 10th in points, but he's got that victory back at Watkins Glen. So right now, Michael is in a good spot to either point or win his way into a playoff position. For Matt McIntyre, we already documented it. It's a must-win situation for Matt McIntyre to be able to get a wild card spot. Mathematically, he could point his way up into the top 10, but a lot of things would have to fall his way mathematically. I think you've got to approach this as a must-win scenario race if you're the driver of the 21 machine. We're going to be talking about the drivers all night long, their scenarios, their opportunities to get into the postseason. 80 circuits await us. We still don't really know what the fuel window is, and we'll talk about that here in just a few moments, but it's time to go racing. It's time to find out who our playoff contenders are going to be. We're going down trackside for those most famous words in motorsports in tonight's regular season finale.
Drivers, start your engines!
Right side of your screen, you'll see your 42-car starting lineup. Keep an eye on where Connor Breton is in this field. Keep an eye on where Dustin Bolin is, where Matt Haas is. These guys, they are going to be the difference makers. They are going to be the movers and shakers of that wild card cut line. And it'll be a lot of fun to watch just how much that fluctuates during the course of this evening's festivities. 80 circuits around the Auto Club Speedway here tonight. Who will we see go to victory lane? Will it make a difference into who's advancing and who is not? Yesterday we saw 10 drivers make their way into the playoffs on the light side. They'll begin their road towards the chase for the championship in a couple of weeks at Road America. First race here for the Cup drivers next week will be at Gateway. Then they'll join the lights drivers at Road America for the final road course stop of the season. 15 bonus points up for grabs for the regular season champion, and right now there are only 3 drivers in that hunt. Ryan Brommer, 24 points over James Qualls, 27 points over Alexander Rowe. One of those 3 drivers will have bonus points equating to 3 victories on the season if they can close out the deal as regular season champion. Here we go, getting ready to go racing here under the lights at Auto Club. The regular season finale for Season 8 is green. Michael Norman will clear his teammate off of 2. Pulls up in front down the back straightaway. Now those Fords will try to get lined up and work together, headed for turn 3. 3 wide, all the way back through this field. Off of turn 4, valuable lap-led bonus point will go to driver 22. Norman leads the first lap. Battle will be around the 3rd position. That's where Laura Chung gets taken 3 wide by Levi McIntyre. Eric Sadler up on the top side. James Qualls, Summer Henson, Caleb Fogler in their own 3 wide behind them. As Matt McIntyre looks to the inside of his teammate, Michael Norman, for the race lead going into 3. A lot of blue ovals up here at the front. 3 of the top 4. As Norman gets the run on the top side off the final corner. He'll lead us back to the stripe. Chung now jumps to the outside of Matt McIntyre for the top position. Both of these drivers, the 21 and the 77, looking to get into the playoffs through a victory. Chung is in a must-win situation. Matt McIntyre could point his way into the top 10. Other drivers in must-win scenarios coming into tonight would include Caleb Fogler, Anthony McCrory, Cole Deaver, Casey Hoyt, and they would need a little bit of help as well to get up there in that same vicinity of Bishop, Ormond, and Voiles, 22nd through 24th in the overall standings. Chung now clear for 2nd. We're going to go 3 wide for 3rd. Blue ovals across the board. Levi McIntyre, Matt McIntyre, Eric Sadler, high, wide, and handsome. Looks like Matt McIntyre is going to win that exchange as Laura Chung peeks her Toyota Camry to the inside of Michael Norman for the race lead into 3. Laura Chung is the only outlying driver out of Auto Junction Racing not yet locked into a playoff position. Summer Henson and Ryan Brommer, a couple of former winners on the season, are locked in on points. Speaking of Henson, there she is in the middle 3 wide. That would be for the 4th position. Daniel Voiles in the 26 right behind this, looking for a good points day to get ahead of both RJ Bishop and Nathan Ormond, if indeed it comes down to that final wild card position. One driver that we do know will not be battling for the championship this season is the defending champion Jessica Shelton. Too far down in points for a victory to count. She would mathematically be able to, with a win, point up into the top 30 in the standings, but she would need to have 2 victories to be able to leapfrog all the other one-time winners, which she does not have. So Jessica Shelton just looking to close out this season with as many trips to victory lane as possible in that Project Dodge Intrepid, as top 3 now single file. Norman, Chung, McIntyre, that being Levi McIntyre. Matt McIntyre is still in a fight here with Sadler and Henson for the 4th position. Four wide back here, that's Casey Hoyt in the middle with James Qualls. Austin LaPlante up on the top. Matt Haas, 3-time winner on the bottom. This track can hold him 3 and 4 wide. We saw them attempt 5 wide in the lights race here yesterday. That did not work out to anybody's favor. If the door presents itself, and if it opens, do we see them force the issue 5 wide here? Maybe in the closing stages if it gets down to desperation. Almost 5 there as Dylan Young had to bail out of the throttle. Daniel Bouchard swung around the outside there. Jesse Turner, Zachary Fitzwater, and Kyle Langland, I think, were in that slight 5 wide formation for a moment. As Toyotas start to make their presence felt inside of the top 10. Matt Haas, Summer Henson there, as well as Kyler Sustre in the 4. Battle on for the lead. Levi McIntyre got around Laura Chung. And now he'll try to make his way by Michael Norman. For Brommer, Qualls, Rowe, Gum, Levi McIntyre, Summer Henson, they're all playing with house money. They know they're locked in. Now they're looking for another victory here in the regular season, an extra 5 bonus points for when the standings are reformatted here, heading into Gateway next week. But Michael Norman, for the time being, doing a great job keeping dirty air on the nose of whoever's trying to challenge him. He'll give them the inside going into the 3, rip the top, get that runoff of 4, and lead them back to the stripe. Now, we've obviously documented, starting back at Watkins Glen, the Cup Series has now moved over to the same physics as the Light Series, CTS. So it gives us a little bit more of an idea of what the fuel window looks like. But here's the thing. We don't really have an idea of how far these drivers can go on a tank of fuel. Why? Well, yesterday, in the Light Series race, we saw drivers come to pit road about 20 laps into a run. Projected, they should not have been able to reach the conclusion. They would have been about 3-4 laps short. Guess what? A number of drivers made it, going about 24 laps. So is the maximum number maybe 25 laps and the minimum number 20 laps? We don't know. Hopefully, we'll see a long enough green flag run here on the Cup side that will give us a more accurate reading of exactly how far these drivers can go on fuel and give us an idea of how many stops they would have to make here in this race before we see the checkered flag. As Eric Sadler now pulls up to the back bumper of Michael Norman. This is interesting. First and second on the track are currently 10th and 11th in the points. 1 win apiece, so for these two drivers, it's a battle to see who would point their way into the playoffs and potentially who would have to rely on a wild card position. McIntyre, Qualls, Henson already locked in. They're battling for 3rd place. James Qualls Two-time winner on the season, would love a third, and remember, he's one of those 3 drivers mathematically in the hunt for the regular season championship. He would need to finish 25 positions ahead of Ryan Brommer. Brommer started out back. He is making some forward progress. Last time by scored in 29th. Right now, Qualls would have 26 positions on Brommer, which would have him 2 points ahead of Brommer for the overall points lead. That's 12 laps in. We have a long ways to go, but good starting track position for James Qualls, trying to see if that'll be enough to garner him an extra 15 bonus points, almost a guaranteed number 1 seed in the playoffs. Again, Dustin Bolin with 4 victories. However, for Qualls, add in the 15 bonus points, that'd be equating 5 victories here on the regular season. Right now, the only way that Dustin Bolin would not be the number 1 seed in the playoffs with his 4 wins would be if Qualls wins the regular season championship, or if Carson Gum, Matt Haas find victory lane again. They are higher in points. They would tie Dustin Bolin with 4 wins on the season. Summer Henson has now moved into the 2nd spot. Eric Sadler looking to the inside. These two could be battling against each other for the championship this season as they just split Michael Norman 3 wide through 1 and 2. Henson, I think, is going to get the run on the back straightaway and will take the race lead. And of course, we've been documenting the battle for the rookie points standings, and Summer Henson 1 point behind Eric Monaco coming into this afternoon's race. Sadler 11 points back in 3rd, 13 points back in 4th. Daniel Bouchard, the last of our full-time drivers. First time that Michael Norman has not led a lap. It is the rookie Summer Henson now out in front. Has caught fire at the right time, got her first career win at Homestead, has pointed her way up through the standings, was at one point outside the top 10, comes into this race 6th in the standings, and as we documented, mathematically is locked into the postseason in her rookie debut. Matt Haas right now running in the 4th position. That is a sigh of relief right now for all of the one-time winners. What about Connor Breton in the 88, however? That is good news again for those one-time winners, but bad news for Breton. He is right now dead last. He crossed the line last time by in 40th. Both Autumn Brooks and Alexander Rowe just got around him. He needs to find something. And there is Dustin Bolin, 4-time winner. The question was, could he point his way back up into the top 10? Right now, 37th. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but still a long ways to go. There is points leader Ryan Brommer, 35th for him. 3-time winner Carson Gum mired back here in 32nd position. A lot of drivers that are already locked in, but not necessarily running all that well in the early going here at Auto Club. There was last week's winner, Alexander Rowe, who then won his way up into a playoff spot with that checkered flag at Bristol Dirt. He's at the very tail end of the field as well. All those drivers, you gotta think, again, dependent on what the fuel window is, they'll be maybe looking for the undercut, looking for some type of pit strategy to work their way up to the front of the field. As we had Fords dominating at the front early on, now it's a couple of Camrys battling side by side. Matt Haas, 3-time winner, looking to the inside. Matt Haas has had a great season here so far. He got the season kicked off as he'll clear for the lead with that win at Daytona. Followed it up with another super speedway win at Dragonette. And then, a couple of weeks ago, got his first win on the season at a non-super speedway as he got his 3rd checkered flag at Hanford. And now, he is out in front, leading the way here at Auto Club. 3rd driver to lead here so far in these first 19 laps. Levi McIntyre will move around the outside of Summer Henson to P2. Now he's going to look for the race lead on the M&M's Toyota. Michael Norman, after starting the pole, fading back. He's now around the 7th position. A driver that is on the move going forward is Benjamin Miles in the 25, as he's now way up there in a near 4-wide situation. Benjamin Miles now up into the top 5. He is a driver who could point his way into the playoffs. He could win his way into the playoffs. 2 different scenarios after a great run last week at Bristol Dirt. Gained him 5 spots in the standings from 24th to 19th. That finish moved him out of a must-win scenario and into those multi-scenarios of win or point in. As now Levi McIntyre up ahead, 2-car breakaway. They may get reeled in with the side drafting here. Levi trying to get around Matt Haas. Doesn't look like it's going to work. We saw this in the lights race yesterday. Inside line a little bit more preferred through 1 and 2, provided you can clear the car you're trying to pass. Outside line more preferred through 3 and 4. So a lot of drivers that we see making that dive to the bottom in turn 3, they got to really hope that it sticks to be able to complete the pass. Here you see Levi stays to the bottom. Can he clear up off of turn 2 on Matt Haas? Not quite clear right there, and now Haas is going to get some help. Little draft out back there from Summer Henson. Levi still stays alongside of him though, and he will complete the pass through 3. That is one of the few times this weekend we've seen a driver actually be able to complete the pass through 3 and 4 on the bottom. So that's indicative of just how strong a race car this 7-Up Zero Sugar Ford Mustang is. Levi McIntyre now out in front. And we talked about this last couple of weeks. It has not been good. Levi lost the points lead. He lost 2nd, 3rd, 4th. He is 5th in points coming into this race. We talk about momentum down the home stretch in preparation for the playoffs. The 99 team does not have it. Tonight, a victory would get it right back. Kyler Sustre in the 4 as here we go. I think we got some pit stops taking place. Lap 22 is when these pit stops are occurring. So is this the furthest that we're looking at that drivers can make it? This would make sense then. This would be about, what, that 2-3 laps that we thought they were lacking in yesterday's Light Series race? We're going to know the exact number here of the length drivers can go when this cycle completed, but Summer Henson was the first one to make the dive onto pit lane, and you saw how it kind of broke up the field here that stayed on the racetrack. We'll see how that plays out once everything cycles around. Levi McIntyre is in this time, along with Matt Haas. Charles Sanford, California native, is going to stay out. And I believe he may be the only one that has remained on the track. Playing some big-time strategy in that GoBowling.com Chevrolet. Charles Sanford coming into this race 25th in points. He is in a must-win situation. He cannot point his way into the top 10. And we talk about Benjamin Miles, his good finish allowing him 2 different avenues to get into the playoffs. The poor finish for Charles Sanford last week at Bristol Dirt dropped him out of 2 possible scenarios, now into a full-fledged must-win scenario. As he will now dive onto pit lane, we're going to jump to the 78 of Summer Henson, who was one of the first ones to pit road. I believe that the race leaders that pit with that second group are just now filing out through 1 and 2. We'll see where Summer cycles around to. Is it the race lead, or are drivers like Levi McIntyre going to be able to still stay ahead? Looks like Matt Haas may have won the battle off of pit road of his group. He's going to beat Levi McIntyre and Kyle Matthews. So Matt Haas, it would appear, is going to be the leader once everything cycles around. There is the exchange for second, potentially exchange for third, as Kyler Sustre now will go to the outside of Levi McIntyre. But Matt Haas, I believe, should cycle to second right here, and then eventually to the race lead, as we saw Charles Sanford dive onto pit road. We'll We'll have to wait until there's Sanford coming off pit lane now. This may work out pretty well for him. He'll probably still be up inside of the top 10. Maybe slide in around 6th or 7th. But the field is going to get majorly spread out now into little intermittent packs. And we saw in the lights race how they were able to all close back up. We'll see if that happens here on the Cup side. But Matt Haas is now going to cycle to the race lead after the pit stops have completed. Kyler Sustre will cross the line in 2nd. Kyle Matthews now to 3rd. Summer Henson in 4th. Daniel Voiles now up in 5th. Great run for him. Levi McIntyre 6th, battling with Charles Sanford, who will now cycle to 7th. 8th place will be Nathan Ormond. Great run for him. Another driver that was around that wild card cut line. 9th place will be Jessica Shulton. Keith Batson going to complete the top 10. Benjamin Miles in 11th. Reggie Fogelman there in 12th, so he's looking strong to make his way into the postseason. Casey Hoyt right now in 13th, and then this pack 14th on back with Laura Chung, Jesse Turner. Alexander Rowe has made his way forward here. Actually, all 3 of the Lake Effect Autosports machines are in this pack, along with the 45 of Eric Monaco. You've also got Qualls, Bishop, Poteet, Bouchard, and LaPlante. With Snyder, Bolin, and Gunther just latching on, as well as Quentin Moore. Then you've got a 4th group back here with Fitzwater, Autumn Brooks, who started shotgun on the field, Caleb Fogler, Cody Lamas, Matt McIntyre drifted all the way back to 29th after starting the outside of the front row. Eric Sadler was up in the top 5 in the early going. He's now back here in 31st. Some other drivers back here. Jack Mitchell, who we saw point his way back up into the top 10. He's mired back here. As well as Connor Breton, who last time by was scored in 35th. Again, the drivers he's trying to get ahead of to get up into the top 30 in the standings would include Anthony McCurry, Cole Deaver, and Casey Hoyt. Well, right now, Hoyt's up in the 13th spot, but Cole Deaver is 38th, and Anthony McCurry is 42nd. So opportunity is knocking for Connor Breton to maybe point his way back up into the top 30. Anthony, a very slow pit stop all the way back here. Same for Carson Gum and Kyle Langland. That's 40th, 41st, 42nd. Those are drivers that are clamoring for a yellow. Michael Norman, who started on the pole, all the way back in 39th position. So our entire front row now find themselves nearly 30 laps into this race outside of the top 25 in the running order. Now for Connor Breton, good news, he is ahead of both Deaver and McCurry. Bad news is he is behind Jessica Shulton and Dylan Young, as well as Kyler Sustre, who are all running very well right now. Sustre in the 3rd spot, Shulton currently slotted in 8th. Casey Hoyt still ahead of him as well in 13th. And where is Dylan Young currently at? Dylan was back around where Breton is, so no ground really gained there by the 2. Also, Dylan Poteet, 17th, and he was another driver that was back behind Connor Breton. So Breton making up some ground, a couple of drivers, but losing ground to some others may cancel out. Again, we're not going to know until the checkered flag waves and the points are calculated if Breton's in the top 30 or not. I will not, I guarantee you, be able to eyeball that in figuring out that scenario. Something I've been noticing here, though, we've got 3 distinct packs, and it almost looks like the second pack may be closing up on the first pack. Second pack being led by Eric Monaco. Looking at lap times right now, and it appears that this second pack is running about 1/10 to 1/10.5 faster than the first pack. And then notice how this third pack is starting to maybe close up on the second pack. If they all come together and make one massive pack, they will reel in that first group a lot quicker than they're doing right now separately. So this is not over for these drivers in the second pack or in that third pack. They could still easily before we end up getting to the window for the next round of pit stops, they could easily make their way up here to this first group. And you see Casey Hoyt kind of losing touch with this first pack. If more and more drivers break off from this first pack and fall back into the second group, that's going to continue to give the numbers advantage to pack number 2, which will allow them to produce more speed and catch up to pack number 1. Well, Kyle Matthews, a former champion of the series, he is 37th in points, so no way that he can make his way into the postseason. He's going to put a lot of pressure here on Matt Haas, looking for his first checkered flag of the season. A couple of other drivers as well, which I saw one way up the track there in Keith Batson. Mathematically, with a win, he cannot point his way into the top 30 in the standings. Former winner on the season at Progressive Speedway, but he would have needed to be within the 47-point cut line of 30th in the standings, and he would have to go to victory lane in this race. He is a total of 49 points below the cut line, which puts him outside of the window of being able to win into a last-minute wildcard spot. Right now, though, he's up in this lead group. He's battling with Shelton. That'd be for around the 8th position. Looking at lap times again here, that second pack to the first pack, and right now it about evened out, maybe a little bit of an advantage to this first pack. They gained about 1.5 to 2 that previous lap. Monaco last time by a 30.363. Matt Haas, the leader of his group, 40.222. So yeah, it's about a 1.5 gained. Looks like that third pack have single filed out a bit, and Matt McIntyre is about to lead them up to this second group. So we'll have a big pack from about 14th on back to, what would that be, around 39th, I think? But this all going to be about nearly almost 4 or 5 seconds behind this first pack, which right now is being trailed by the 24 of Casey Hoyt. Daniel Voiles just moved up into second place. Not a must-win scenario for Voiles. Right now, he's ahead of a couple of drivers that he needed to be, Nathan Ormond and RJ Bishop. So the scenario that we talked about of if Breeden points back up into the top 30, if Matt Haas falls outside of the top 10, he would, I believe, be in the final wild card position. But right now, Matt Haas looking for a series-tying 4th win on the season, as he's led the most laps so far. 15 circuits out in front. Just a couple of laps ago, eclipsed the 13 laps led by our pole sitter, Michael Norman. You can see nearly almost a full straightaway from the first pack, the end of the first pack, back to the start of the second pack, which now has reeled in that pack number 3, so now they are one massive pack right now, and we'll see if that allows them to close up the distance. You see up here at the front, your top 5, 6 all were single filed there through 3 and 4. That is great strategy to be able to continue to try to pull away from 14th on back. A lot of drivers up here were already locked into the playoffs. Matt Haas, Levi McIntyre, Summer Henson. But how about some of the drivers up here that weren't yet locked in and are looking like they are in really good shape if they continue to run where they're at? Reggie Fogelman is one that stands out to me. Fogelman right now in the 10th position, came into this race 12th in overall standings. Former winner at Kentucky. Right now, he would be locked in through a high-seeded wildcard spot, being as high as he is in the point standings with a victory. However, with where he's running right now, he was only 14 points below the 10th in the standings cut line. He right now could point his way into a postseason berth, especially due to the fact that Jack Mitchell and Michael Norman are both running pretty deep in the field. Norman 35th, Mitchell back in 39th. So opportunity here for Reggie Fogelman looking for his first appearance in the postseason. And I'm looking at this 25 of Benjamin Miles. It's not a done deal yet. But right now, up here in this lead group, going 4 wide, it was for a brief moment for the race lead. If he can continue to run up here at the front, finish well. What was the cut line between him and the 10th? 27 points. It's possible. If he wins, I think Miles has locked himself in. Lead change. Right at the start-finish line, Daniel Voiles snipes that lap from Matt Haas. And Haas going to pass him back for the top position. But a valuable bonus point for Daniel Voiles. A lap-led bonus point could be crucial into fighting for that final wildcard spot. Also, update, I've been looking at the lap times. That second pack, they are moving. They have been a 1/10 to 2/10 faster for the last 3 laps. They closed up what was a 6.3 second gap, now to 5.8. And all Monaco, who is leading that second group, has to do is get within about a second to a second and a half of the tail end of this pack, get a little whiff of draft, and he will be able to lead this second group right up there to the main first pack. You can visibly see back there they have closed up the distance. Nathan Orman losing a little bit of touch here with this lead pack. Good runs for some organizations here. You've got all three of your full-time Haas racing machines up in this lead group, with Haas leading, Sustre battling here with Shelton for second, and Reggie Fogelman right now holding down the 9th position. You've got 3 of the S3 Motorsports cars up here, the Chevys of Kyle Matthews and Charles Sanford, and the Dodge Intrepid of Jessica Shelton. You've got 2 of the Northeast Motorsports Chevys with Benjamin Miles and Casey Hoyt. So some organizations looking really good right now as Haas continues to lead. Looking back for that second pack. Did they gain or did they lose that previous lap? I think they may have lost. Let's see if they can gain it back this time around, as most of your leaders in this pack ran in the 40.7s, 40.8s. Monaco and company ran in the 5s, 6s, and 7s, so they did actually gain that lap. But it's a long, drawn-out process, and look what lap we're on. Lap 44. Remember, we saw drivers come to pit road around laps 22 to 23, so we might see pit road be a busy place here once again in the next few laps. Which means that for the most part, these drivers will have to make 3 stops here. This upcoming pit stop, the second of the 3. And then on their final pit stop, they should be able to just barely make it the rest of the way by about maybe 2 or 3 laps. Sustre looking low here on Matt Haas, or is this in preparation for a pit stop? He's very low. Yeah, he's coming in. Looks like Levi McIntyre is going to come in as well. No, never mind. It's just going to be Sustre and Voiles of the lead pack. Let's see if anybody pits from the second group. Yep, Eric Monaco's coming in. Whoa, Quentin Moore had to cut there right in between Connor Breton, and I think that was Dylan Young, to make it onto pit road. Caleb Fogler in the 28 is also in. This is going to break the field up once again, much like we saw at the conclusion of the first round of pit stops, as Benjamin Miles looks for the race lead on the bottom of 1 and 2. Not going to be able to get it as Haas gets the momentum on the top side again. Miles is coming in. Same for Matt Haas. Remember, it was the first cycle of pit stops that put Matt Haas out in the lead. Kyle Matthews is in. Casey Hoyt, Summer Henson, and Reggie Fogelman. More coming in behind from the second group, including Qualls, Poteet, Gunther, Matt McIntyre, Ryan Brommer, and a host of others. Pole sitter Michael Norman is also coming in. Jessica Schulten inherits the lead. Bonus point for the 94. Looks like 5 drivers left of this lead group, about a half dozen from the second group. Sanford went the longest on the green flag pit stop cycle the first go round. He'll do the same thing here as he'll stay out again. Everybody else, though, going to hit pit lane. Schulten, Batson, McIntyre, and Ormond. And here come the rest of the drivers from the second group. Snyder, Bouchard, LaPlante, Bolin, Fitzwater, and Dylan Young. So Charles Sanford going the extra lap here. We saw him do this during the first cycle of pit stops. It got him some good track position. He cycled up inside of the top 10. We'll see if it happens here again, as he'll have a very clear entry onto pit road. Can be a little bit more aggressive than some of the others that had to adhere to the braking zones of the cars in front of them. And Kyle Matthews may have leapfrogged Matt Haas on pit lane. So it may be the Mellow Yellow Chevrolet who's going to be the leader once everything is done and dusted. Haas and Sustre behind the 09. We'll see if that's going to be the top 3 once everything cycles. There's Schulten and Batson coming off pit road along with Nathan Ormond. They won't cycle to the lead, but they should stay up inside of the top 10. Sanford will have led, I believe, the lap on pit road. I believe his pit stall is past the start-finish line, so it won't be until the next time around that Kyle Matthews should cycle to the front. There is Sanford just now leaving pit lane. We'll see where he cycles around to, as he's just now in the middle of 1 and 2 on the apron. There's Sanford. There's the exchange for the race lead. And Kyle Matthews is going to be the new leader. Looking for that first win on the season. Former champion from Season 5. It has been a struggling year for the 09 car. 25 races, only 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s. An average finishing position of just under 25th. An average starting position of just under 24th. Every time it looks like Kyle is in line for a good run, something seems to go wrong. Maybe tonight is the night where they find the silver lining in that gray cloud and they can at least pick up a checkered flag here in Season 8. Matt Haas, who has led the most laps up to this point, 22 circuits out in front, he cycles to second. Kyler Sustre in third, Keith Batson fourth. Nathan Ormond now in the 5th position, trying to get himself one of those wild card spots. Schulten in 6th. 7th is under contest. That's Casey Hoyt looking to the inside of Charles Sanford. 9th place Levi McIntyre and Reggie Fogelman now the completion of the top 10. Nick Gunther has now moved up multiple spots. He's in 11th. Benjamin Miles in 12th. Summer Henson in 13th. Biggest loser on that cycle of pit stops, I think, had to be Daniel Voiles. He's now back to 14th with Qualls and Moore battling for 15th. Then it's Benjamin Snyder, Dylan Poteet, and points leader Ryan Brommer. That is your top 20. Some notables where they cycled around here after this pit stop cycle would include Connor Breton. Where is he? He is currently in 33rd. Michael Norman, who came in 10th in the point standings, he's 39th. Jack Mitchell, 35th. Joshua Osborne, who was trying to point his way up into a top 10 spot, he's 31st. Eric Sadler, who was 11th in points, he's 29th. Right now, if there's any good news for any of our former winners, it's that Matt Haas has been up front most of this race. Whether he wins or not, if he finishes up here inside of the top 5, he will not fall out of the top 10 in points, so he will not drift down into a wild card spot. Right now, Destin Bolin is currently scored in the 20th position. It's very unlikely, unless we have some incredible fuel strategy in the closing stages, that the 4-time winner is going to point his way back up into the top 10 in the standings. So I think we can concede the number 1 wildcard spot to him. Connor Breton, jury is still out as he's mired back in 33rd position, whether or not he'd be able to bypass enough drivers to get up into the top 30 in the standings. Kyle Matthews, if he won this race. Kyler Sustre, if he won this race. These are drivers, same for Keith Batson. It would not change anything in terms of the wildcard spots. They do not have enough points to be able to get themselves high enough for a wildcard position with a checkered flag. Levi McIntyre, who's up here, is already locked in. Reggie Fogelman is all but locked in if he continues to run where he is, and that would be via top 10 in points. So right now, it's looking like the crucial battle continues to be between Nathan Ormond, Daniel Voiles, and RJ Bishop. And right now, Ormond is winning that battle as he is in the 4th spot. Daniel Voiles has drifted back to 16th, and RJ Bishop is mired back in 25th. Now remember, coming into this race, all drivers that were in the top 30 in points with victories, as Haas will get around Matthews and he'll go back to the lead, coming to 25 laps to go. All former winners on the season that were in the top 30 in points all came into this race in wild card positions. The two things that would have changed it would be Breton moving into the top 30, Matt Haas falling out of the top 10, or a different driver going to victory lane. Right now, with Haas out in front, none of those scenarios are currently being met. I believe that the only driver who could upset the apple cart, so to speak, right now that's up in this lead pack is that 03 of Charles Sanford. Even Casey Hoyt, if he were to get his first win on the season, he's 30th in points. The gap between him and the driver that would have the final wildcard spot coming into this race, Daniel Voiles, is 32 points. I don't think Casey Hoyt would make up enough ground on Voiles or Ormond, maybe Bishop, but that's a stretch, to get the final wild card position. The only driver right now would be Charles Sanford, who currently is 25th in points. He is just below Bishop, Ormond, and Voiles. He could potentially leapfrog any of those 3 drivers for a wild card spot, but he is the tail end of this lead group right now in the 10th position. Remember, however, he also has been the driver on the last 2 cycle of pit stops that has gone the longest. And if there's any driver who maybe could stretch it on fuel, it would be the 03. Now, there is no way that he'd be able to save enough here without coming to pit road. Everybody's going to have to pit at least one more time, somewhere before lap 70. You cannot save 10 to 11 laps of fuel. There's just no plausible way that that's going to work. But Matt Haas, he had the car to be able to get back around Kyle Matthews. Matthews has been running second to Haas for a good portion of the last 20 to 25 laps. However, his team got it done on pit road, cycled him out in front of Matt Haas. That's got to be something in the back of the mind of the pit crew of that 8 team. They got to step it up and do a little better here on this upcoming final pit stop to make sure that they come in and leave with the top position. Field got really broken up now. After this cycle of pit stops, we saw a lead pack and then a second pack. We've got a bunch of different packs now. It looks like Anthony McCurry maybe run up on here to get put a lap down. Last car running in 42nd place. You've got 10 drivers up here in this lead group back to Charles Sanford. You then have another 5 in this second group being led by Nick Gunther, and they may get some help here. There's a group behind them being led by Ryan Brommer, who will probably mesh in with this group of 5, and we'll have to see if they can close up on the lead group. Right now, there's about 4.3 seconds from Gunther to Charles Sanford. That is less than what the second group had to the first group after the first cycle of green flag pit stops. And they do have more laps to work with here as well before we end up having to finally have that final pit stop, I do believe. Well, I say that, and looking at us on lap 60, we're about 6 to 8 laps away from that final pit stop, so never mind that. Kyle Matthews kicked way up to the outside line there as little difficulty for some drivers getting around the 61 of Anthony McCurry, who is, it appears, up to speed. He'll mesh in with this group, but now Matt Haas going to utilize him as a pick. Now leaves Levi McIntyre to battle for position second place with Kyle Matthews, this taking place behind the Panda Express Mazda. I haven't talked much about Nick Gunther here, despite the fact that he's currently in that second pack in the 11th spot. Nick Gunther still looking for that first win on the season, but he comes into this race 7th in points. He was 24 points ahead of the cut line, and right now it is looking like the multi-time Duracell Cup Series winner will be pointing his way into a postseason playoff spot. James Qualls right there with him. We haven't talked much about the regular season championship for a while, and right now it's looking like Ryan Brommer is pretty much in control. You see him just a couple of cars behind the 70 there. Brommer last time by scored in 15th, Qualls in 12th. No way that Qualls is eating into that 24-point gap that was between those two when this race started. And Alexander Rowe, while he has made forward progress since the start of this race, he's back in 22nd. So right now, it is a no contest for Ryan Brommer, who is in the catbird seat to receive 15 extra bonus points when the playoff standings are put together. Matt Haas continues to show the way. He will now lock up the bonus point for most laps led. No way that any other driver not named Michael Norman could eclipse that amount of laps led with 26 and a half laps to go down the back straightaway. As battle continues to be for second place, Levi McIntyre and Kyle Matthews, neither one being able to gain an advantage because of that 61 of Anthony McCurry. You see there, Kyle kind of held up by Anthony on the entry to the corner. Levi takes advantage, but then Levi is side by side with Anthony off the corner. The side draft brings Kyle Matthews back into the conversation, and Kyle now will drive down to the inside and try to see if he and Levi can both clear the 61. Looks like Levi will do so off of turn 2. Now he'll set his sights on Matt Haas for the race lead. And we're going to have these pit stops coming up here within the next 5 laps. We've seen the lead exchanged a couple of times here on the green flag pit stop cycle. Will we see it once again? Been checking in on that gap back to the second pack, and it is not closed up. This first pack is running faster. So group drivers from that second pack, they need to hope that drivers from this first pack get really, really broken up once the cycle is complete. "65 laps completed. We have been green flag since the start. We've seen a lot of moving parts and pieces in regards to the playoffs, but we do not know how this is going to completely cycle around to who is going to get a shot at the championship and who is just going to miss out. We had 6 drivers confirmed locked in on points coming in tonight. We had 2 drivers confirmed locked in on victories. And there were a few drivers that there were question marks of whether or not they could maintain their high standing in the points with their victories to be able to clinch wildcard spots. This upcoming pit stop, the money stop, is going to determine a lot. window is open to make it the rest of the way. 13 laps to go. Big dive into turn 1 by Levi McIntyre. Pulls right up to the back bumper of Matt Haas. He'll look to the inside here going into 3. Is this a battle for the top spot? Is this an indicator he's coming to pit road? Could be a combination of both. Levi is not coming in. Oh, contact made as Haas was coming in. That was very nearly a wreck for the top position as teammates will dive to pit road. Haas and Sustre. Langland also in. He's on the tail end of the lead lap. But that could have really been bad there as Levi McIntyre was clearly staying out. Matt Haas was trying to pit from the second lane. They made door-to-door contact, and that could have been a caution that would have put a lot of drivers back into this conversation. Would have been our first one of the night. I believe Nick Gunther from the second group hit pit road. And I believe we got a couple diving in here from this first pack. Kyle Matthews is coming in, as well as the lap car of Anthony McCurry. Further back, Qualls, Miles, Brommer, Dylan Poteet, Autumn Brooks, Matt McIntyre, Alexander Rowe, bunch of others back here in what was a third pack, it looks like, including Connor Breton, two-time winner. This has to be the stop for Connor Breton. If they don't nail this stop, if they don't gain him track position, Breton will not be fighting for a playoff spot. It's like Nathan Orman maybe staying out an extra lap. Most everybody else coming down pit road. There's Sanford staying out, no surprise. McIntyre in along with Batson, Fogelman, Hoyt, and Shelton. There's Matt Haas after his pit stop was completed. Nathan Ormond, I believe, led that lap. Did he lead a lap previously here? No, that's an important bonus point for him. We saw Daniel Voiles get a bonus point for a lap led earlier. Ormond, who's right around that final wildcard spot cut line. Valuable bonus point there for him as well. Still waiting on Benjamin Snyder to pit. I believe Quentin Moore is still yet to pit, as Ormond will probably be coming to pit road this time. Sanford is going to follow him. Looks like Matt Haas may have won the battle off of pit road against Kyle Matthews. Snyder's coming in this lap. There is Matthews battling side by side with Anthony McCrory, who is a lap down machine. There is Matt Haas up ahead. Haas should cycle out to the front. Kyle finally going to clear the 61, and now, well, there's Levi McIntyre in the 99. Does he cycle out to second place? Fogelman is there. Shelton is now up here as well. Matthews is going to swing around the outside of Levi McIntyre. And now Matt Haas. All these drivers can make it on fuel. Can he hold them off for 9 more laps? Matthews is clear for second. McIntyre is clear for third. Nope, not anymore. Kyler Sustre drives it in deep on him. There was Nathan Ormond leaving pit road. Is he going to get out with the lead? Still trying to get up through the gears, trying to get up to speed, but going long may give Nathan Ormond the top position. And if that's the case, Ormond would be looking for his second win on the season, which would leapfrog all the other drivers in front of him with 1 win. It's been a topsy-turvy season for Nathan Ormond. He got his win, second race of the season at Manassas. And he was looking like he was going to stay up in the top 10, but then we got to the All-Star break, and down the home stretch of this regular season, we've just continually been talking about Nathan Ormond trying to get himself back in the top 30 in points. He found a great streak in the last 4 or 5 races, moved his way up into the top 25 in points, 23rd in the standings coming into this one. And now, looking to close out the deal, lock himself up a spot in the playoffs, be another multi-time winner on the season, along with Qualls and Gum and Haas and Bolin and Breton. This is not the first time we've seen Matt Haas get leapfrogged on pit road, though. And he's had a strong race car the last time Kyle Matthews beat him on strategy, and Haas was able to drive around him. Can Matt Haas get around Nathan Ormond here in the closing stages? Kyle Matthews is not out of it yet. He's right there. So is Kyler Sustre. Levi McIntyre looking for that first win on the season. He knows he's going playoff racing, but he'd love to get a win. Counter the 5 bonus points that a number of other one-time winners are going to have when the playoff standings are put together. Man, Michael Norman, our pole sitter, 10th in points coming into this one. He is the last car on the lead lap in 41st place. He's going to take a hit in the standings, but I think he should still be safe for a wild card spot. And Connor Breton, where did he cycle to after this? No improvement, 35th. Potentially no threat to the wild card drivers. Charles Sanford is still back there. He again, I think, is the only driver right now that could upset the current drivers that are sitting in playoff positions. But he's in 7th place, and he doesn't have a lot of time to be able to work with. Still, though, in line for a great performance here tonight at his home track. Looking back at that second group, James Qualls, Ryan Brommer, Destin Bolin, Summer Henson, Nick Gunther all in that group. All those drivers look like they're going to finish well enough that they're going to be going playoff battling here starting next week at Gateway. As we've got less than 4 laps to go, and now second place is under contest. That's exactly what Ormond wants to see. Sustre to the inside of his teammate Matt Haas. Nathan Ormond trying to get Michael Norman Motorsports its 3rd win on the season. Before Michael went to victory lane a couple of weeks ago at Watkins Glen, Ormond was the only driver out of the organization with a victory. And now, Michael Norman Motorsports looking for their 2nd win in the last 4 races. Sustre again now clears Haas, and Haas is going backwards as he's way up the track there through 1 and 2. Here comes Shelton for the runner-up spot on Sustre. Ormond continues to open up a gap about 2 car lengths back to this side-by-side battle for the runner-up spot. Traffic up ahead. That is the 22 of Michael Norman, teammate to the race leader. You'd have to think he's going to get out of the way if Ormond gets to him in these next 2 laps. Off of 2, top 2, single file. Now make it top 3 as Shelton slots into 3rd. Haas and McIntyre for 4th. Now give it to Haas. McIntyre will tuck in behind. Sustre up to the back bumper of Ormond, trying to make a last-ditch charge, looking for his 2nd career win after winning as a part-time rookie last season. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go. Here comes Sustre to the inside. Can he make it stick? Had to bail a little bit there on the exit. Ormond gets the drive off the corner. He'll get a nice tow from his teammate Norman down the back straightaway. Ormond gonna look low here into 3, try and get around the 22. Is that gonna hold him up enough for Sustre to make a last-minute charge? Doesn't look like it. Off 4 for the final time. Tremendous pit strategy is going to get Nathan Ormond his 2nd win on the season. He'll close out the regular season at Auto Club with a checkered flag. He will lock himself into the playoffs through a high-seeded wildcard spot. Sustre will finish 2nd, Shelton in 3rd, Matt Haas and Levi McIntyre will be your top 5. And the playoff grid starts to get a little clearer as we will be looking through the finishing results from this one. But that call to go long on the final pit stop for Nathan Ormond, the 23 team was on it. He got out ahead of Matt Haas, had the clean air in the final 20 or so laps, and he will be yet another multi-time winner on the season, the 6th driver to do so. And that's an extra 5 bonus points that he will carry into the reformatted playoff standings. He will leapfrog Bishop, Voiles, Sadler, Fogelman, Norman, any of those one-time winners that would be outside of the top 10 in points. He will leapfrog them more than likely into the 2nd wild card spot behind 4-time winner Destin Bolin. And Destin finished pretty well here in the 12th position, but I don't know if he did enough to get up into the top 10 in the standings. We're going to obviously have to find all that out. So things become a lot clearer. We already knew coming into this race, Brommer, Qualls, Rowe, Gum, McIntyre, Henson, didn't matter where they finished. They were locked in on points. We knew Destin Bolin was locked in on a victory. Same for Matt Haas, though we didn't know if Matt Haas was going to be top 10 in points or a wild card driver. Well, a top 5 finish in 4th place. He is easily going to point his way into the playoffs, which is a huge sigh of relief for the drivers that were one-time winners outside of the top 10 but inside of the top 30. Where did Connor Breton finish? He finished in 35th. Now granted, he finished ahead of Deaver, he finished ahead of McCrory, but he did not finish ahead of Shelton and Sustre, nor ahead of Casey Hoyt. So, right now, eyeballing it, I do not believe Connor Breton got into the top 30 in points, but if he did, he got in by the skin of his teeth, and it would be in the 30th position. Again, I don't have the math in front of me. I can't do it based off positioning right now. I cannot give you an accurate read. But with what I'm seeing here, it does not look like Connor Breton did enough to make his way into the top 30. So if we take that scenario and we cancel out Connor Breton and those 2 wins from a wild card position, then who else has locked themselves in? Well, Nick Gunther's going to finish 17th. I believe based off the drivers around him, that is enough to advance top 10 in points. Where did Jack Mitchell finish? He finished in 31st. I don't know if that's enough for him to stay in the top 10 in points. The good news for Mitchell is he is up there in the point standings. He has a victory at Phoenix. So if he does indeed drop out of the top 10 in points, I think his win is enough for him to be able to get in through a wild card position. Same deal for Michael Norman. 10th in the standings coming into this race, had the victory at Watkins Glen. He was high enough in the point standings that I think, despite the fact I think he's going to drop a chunk of positions in the point standings, I think he would still be high enough to be able to clinch a wild card position. Eric Sadler, we didn't talk much about him late in this race. 27th, he was 11th in the standings. I think he just barely is going to get in through a wild card spot. Reggie Fogelman finishing in 10th. I don't know, but that 5 car may end up finishing top 10 in points. He may not have to rely on his Kentucky win for a wild card spot. We'll have to wait and see if that is the case. Obviously, we talked about Nathan Ormond getting in with his 2nd victory. What about Daniel Voiles? Voiles is going to finish this race in 22nd. Is that enough? RJ Bishop just ahead of him in 21st. I don't know. I don't know if those 2 have clinched wildcard spots or not. The best scenario for them was that a repeat winner occurred. But again, a lot of this is going to depend on who moved into the top 10 in points, who fell out, and did Breton get into the top 30. More than likely, the 16 drivers that we had coming into this race in playoff positions are going to be the 16 drivers that will battle for the championship. It doesn't look like Joshua Osborne, Eric Monaco, or Quentin Moore finished high enough where they'd be able to point up into the top 10. So my belief right now is that the 16 drivers that came in playoff spots are going to leave in playoff positioning. So Do not take this at face value. This is just my gut reaction. Wait until the official point standings are posted, but I believe your 16 playoff drivers, in no particular order, are going to be Ryan Brommer, James Qualls, Alexander Rowe, Carson Gum, Levi McIntyre, Summer Henson, Nick Gunther, Jack Mitchell, Matt Haas, Michael Norman, Eric Sadler, Reggie Fogelman, Destin Bolin, RJ Bishop, Nathan Ormond, and Daniel Voiles. You can check once these points come up and see if I'm correct in that assumption, but that's what I believe your 16 drivers are going to be, just based off the finishing results that we saw here tonight and the scenarios coming into this race. Ryan Brommer going to finish this race out 13th. He is going to be the regular season champion. 15 bonus points headed his way, and that will more than likely then tie him for the number 1 seed with 4-time winner Destin Bolin. What an incredible afternoon. What an incredible weekend here at Auto Club. We are now on the road to the championship in Lights and Cup. We know the 10 drivers in Lights. We know the 16 drivers in Cup that will battle for their respective championship trophies. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race here from Auto Club. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, become a part of the crew today. We wait no longer. We showed your full figure results. As a result, these are the point standings. The 16 drivers highlighted in yellow, they're the ones that will begin the road for that championship next week at Gateway. It'll be just the Cup drivers that weekend. We'll see the Lights drivers in their first playoff race during the second playoff race for the Cup drivers when we go road course racing at Road America in 2 weeks. But congratulations to Nathan Ormond. He wins his way into the playoffs through a high-seeded wildcard spot. Congratulations to our 16 playoff contenders. We'll see who's going to fire the first shot to maybe win their way into the round of 12 next week at Gateway Raceway. Until then, though, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, Offline Racing at its best.
The following has been a presentation of NNSCRA TV for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the consent of the NNSCRA is prohibited. NNSCRA would like to thank all of our loyal fans, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.